Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Scott Luton and Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's webinar. Greg White, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Scott.
To our audience out there, he's laughing. We're laughing because you never want to start your morning with an excavator digging stuff up around your neighborhood. Is that right, Greg?
That's right. In front of your driveway, in the street. Yes.
But
yes.
folks,
People's three least favorite words: water main break. Yes.
Well, folks, but hey, good news here, Greg, is that
first world problems, right?
First world problems, and today's conversation is jam-packed with things that are much, much more exciting. Today's webinar, Greg, we're going to be talking about streamlining and simplifying shipping. Man, that's like a breath of fresh air and something we all need more of, right? In particular, we're going to be talking about how powerful it can be when you combine the right TMS with the right ERP integrations. You get good outcomes. Greg, your thoughts around what we're going to be talking about today?
This is one of my favorite people to talk with. You can have the most fun with somebody who's no fun at all. And I'm he's going to kill me when he comes on. Look, we've been talking about everything that's going on with TMS and technology, and there are a lot of newcomers to supply chain. And there are a lot of the staid old guard in supply chain, and where Shannon and his crew land is squarely on the innovation end, but with a ton of supply chain experience, which is what gives them so much acceleration and so much knowledge. I mean, forget about the technology. Just what Shannon and the team know about supply chain is so incredibly valuable. So listen up.
I'm with you. And, Shannon brought the other half of the dynamic duo, Paul, here. We're going to introduce everybody in a minute. And a third guest. We have an outstanding panel, Sean. Yeah. So you're gonna really learn a lot on this big show here today. What it promises to be an outstanding conversation with lots of actionable insights, which is critical. Hey, really quick, big thanks. We got a lot of folks joined us from around the world. Tracy in Scottsdale, Catherine in Birmingham, Alex in Fort Worth. We've got, Zinala Bedin. I think I got that close to being right, from Morocco.
I'm wearing that. Yeah. Oh man, Morocco's beautiful.
Oh, I bet. Natalia in Helsinki. Faina up in Toronto, Alan up in Ottawa. So great. Welcome everybody to this live session. Now, a couple quick program notes. We encourage you to ask questions, share your observations using that chat function on the webinar platform. We should have time. We got a jam up conversation, but we should have time for one or two questions at the end of the live webinar today. And the on-demand recording will be made available for our registrants at their convenience. If you got to step out and save your global supply chain, hey, We'll be there for you, and you can watch the rest of the conversation when you get back. Now, Greg, if folks really enjoyed today's conversation with this home run panel we have, what should they do?
They should subscribe, sign up, listen wherever you get your podcasts from, or, my favorite, Scott, YouTube.
That's right. Join us.
Especially YouTube, because I think, we've made some effort. Well, you've made some effort to have a beautiful studio. Mine's kind of a mess, but if you keep it blurry enough, it's hard to tell.
That's right.
You get to see us as well as hear us and our guests, and you get the full experience.
That's right. Speaking of our guests, I am excited to bring in this panel here today. We've really enjoyed the pre-show conversations. I'm going to introduce each, and then we're going to swoosh them in. So as we talked about, we got Shannon Vaillancourt, president and founder with RateLinx. We have Paul Tedford, CEO with Synergy Resources, and Sean McGee, project manager with Wirebelt Company of America. All right. Hello, Shannon.
Hello, Scott.
Great to see you. And remember, Greg said that earlier. It wasn't me. Greg was talking about that earlier.
You said that? I'm sorry.
Talking about the fun factor, but great to have you back. Always enjoy our conversations. Paul Tedford, great to have you back. How you doing?
Likewise, doing great. How you guys doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. And Shannon and Paul have brought Sean, a new friend, to the party. Sean, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. Good. You?
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
So to the whole panel here, I think, Greg, what's important, we can't get enough context in this world. And just to level set with our audience, I want to just connect the dots a bit, especially for the sake of time, because we got a lot to get through. We've got a great story here today that I think is going to help a lot of folks. So to connect the dots, Shannon and the RateLinx team Well, they've been helping companies better ship, track, and pay for their freight since 2002, powered by their award-winning TMS, right? And then you've got Paul, General Paul, I'm going to call him, because you lead an army of over 100 ERP and business optimization experts. You've been serving more than 1,200 companies, man. And then we bring Sean to the table. He's with the leading manufacturer and distributor of conveyor belts, Wire Belt Company of America, which of course is going to be a big part of our conversation here today. So Greg, now that we've kind of connected the dots, so everyone kind of understands where the POV is coming from, anything else foreshadowing wise, Greg, that you think the audience have got to know?
I think they just need to know to listen, because you're talking to a number of pros who've literally done thousands of technology implementations, come from the industry, and are doing it every single day. So,
That's right.
Like I said before, listen up.
All right. So let's jump right in. Great to have y'all back. We love our repeat guests as always. We got a great story here today. So, the core component of today's discussion is the Wire Belt Company of America's story, their continued growth and success, especially how their technology approach has helped power the company forward, which we're going to be talking a lot about here today, right? So, Sean, for some more of that valuable context and level setting, tell us a little bit more about the Wire Belt Company of America. So our audience can kind of connect
so I
the
think
dots.
you had touched upon it earlier. So we manufacture metal conveyor belts and components, mainly for the food processing industry. So things like in poultry, baking, frying, anything with candy. I've been doing it for over 100 years. We're based in Bedford, New Hampshire. We have sister companies in England and Germany. If you guys ever go to a hotel and you get breakfast there and you see that little toaster oven that has that metal belt circling in there, that's one of the belts that we make. So they're all over the world.
Sean and Greg, I bet you can relate. Sean, you're all of a sudden my three kids' newest superhero. They love those waffle and pancake machines. Greg, am I lying?
No, I love them too. I mean, it's fun. It's like a game, those things. Yeah.
So, Sean, you're powering kids' mornings all around the world, probably. Let's keep driving a little bit more. Context is so important for the story we're going to be sharing here today. So, Sean, tell us more about the scale and mix of your transportation operations.
So like I said, we ship worldwide. We do maybe about 50 to 60 orders a day, but most of that is all volume based. So not necessarily a lot of line items, but just a lot of quantity of each line. So for instance, we could ship 1,000 feet of the same belt, and most customers would want it in a 50-foot roll, and we would have to send out 20 50-foot rolls. We package them individually, throw them on pallets. We do a lot of parcel shipments. Most of our businesses with LTL. Like I said, a lot of boxes on pallets. We make crates for our belts as well. Sometimes there are instances where we have a freestanding package that weighs over 150 pounds, and that would still have to go LTL. Aside from that, we do a lot of order consolidation. We have customers that order multiple times per week, and we're just able to gather their orders based on whatever the production schedule is and just get product out the door, because it really helps the downtime for some of our customers that are out there. So I'd say we have a good mix of everything.
Healthy mix. Okay, so before you went looking for a TMS, how are you managing that mix of shipping? How are you managing it all?
Yeah, so I mean, we were using a software back in the day that was customized to us, where it was fully integrated with their ERP, which was visual, but that ended up going away. And then we found a quick solution just to kind of help us get product out the door, but we ended up losing out on some efficiencies. A lot of the challenges that we faced, where we were using two different screens to process a shipment. We had parcel and freight shipments were in different places. So there was a lot of toggling back and forth. Order consolidation, like a lot of what we do, that took extra steps and extra time. And aside from that, I think we ran into a lot of issues where we had a lot of paperwork for some of the documents that print out for shipments, especially with custom docs. So sometimes, if we consolidate an order, if we're shipping to Canada, let's say, the docs would print out for each line item and not just list each individual order. So we were giving trucking companies legit binders full of documents. And so it was a lot of wasted paper. It's definitely looking to streamline that. So
Sean, you're talking a lot about how you manage it and how your team just got it done right every day. And you also touched on a lot of challenges that exist. Anything else you want to, because I want to bring Paul in just a second to talk more about these challenges. Sean, any other challenges you want to throw out there in the previous state, perhaps?
Well, I know that in the past we were looking at some other software companies that were out there, but we just hadn't met the needs of what we were looking for. So there's a lot of things with testing wasn't working. Sometimes the integration took too long, or we just even couldn't, had trouble installing it. So, but
they couldn't cut the mustard.
Yeah, couldn't muster it.
All right. So, Paul, Sean was speaking to operational challenges. He was talking to some of the other options, some of the other challenges with looking at new options there. He touched on a lot of stuff there. Paul, do you see a lot of these same challenges across the industry?
Yeah, we have about 1,200 manufacturing customers that we've helped implement ERP on, as you said, Scott. So many of them have advanced shipping and logistics needs, as some of the ones that Sean was mentioning. So certainly see these same challenges. Some of the things that we went to help Wirebout with to find the right partner is looking at, the right UI, right UX. Don't want to go to multiple screens, don't want to have too many clicks. And they want something more than manifesting. A lot of the shipping and solutions out there are really just a manifest bolt-on, where you want more than just manifesting. You want the full shipping solution and logistics solution. So that's and the flexibility that RateLinx provides as well.
Greg, I want to bring you in here. Speak to the challenges that Sean and Paul both touched on, especially the one I like. Paul mentioned too many clicks, and how nice is a one-click solution? But Greg, speak a little bit on what you heard there.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously in a paper-based or any kind of manual, even spreadsheet-based, there's a lot of opportunity to lose data. And one of the things, that you're solving with a technology is a central repository, right? That allows you to if you're giving people a binder, they may not flip to the right page, right? I'm sure
I should have brought a prop.
That had to have happened, Sean, right? And you take all of that potential manual error out of play, and you also, obviously when you're talking about technology, sometimes we just with a first tier technology, you wind up getting automated version of your binder, and when you can leap from that to really starting with the goal, that's right, beginning with the end in mind, and working your way back. You might take steps out when a technology comes in. And I have, Scott, we know Shannon for a long time. I may not know him for that much longer after that opening, but what they have done with their technology is they have begun with the goal in mind and taken out a lot of unnecessary steps and data points and that sort of thing. And when you get to technology, once you get there, you get spoiled really fast. So that sort of single click or very few clicks to what you want is really, really important.
Well said, Greg. And I missed the opportunity as you were starting your response there, talking about that big old binder of 10,000 sheets. I should have had one right here that I blew the dust off of as you started your response, but I missed opportunities, right? And really quick, another little sidebar before I get back to the story. Hello, Martin. Did you know it's Happy Friends Day in Argentina? Martin, great to have you. And as you enjoy the conversation with our friends here. Okay, so Sean, let's get to selection. You were talking earlier on the one of the last few things you were talking about, some of the challenges you had with selection and looking at other options. So talk more to us about why you chose ShipLinx TMS and how it's begun to solve issues for you.
Yeah, so we definitely liked how it's fully integrated with visual. It's very key to have things right back in terms of, freight terms, freight costs, ship views, tracking numbers, et cetera. So it's key to have. We definitely like to use the one screen to process every kind of shipment, whether it be parcel, LTL, or international. The order consolidation is very simple and seamless, where we can have 5 different sales orders going to the same customer. So we're able to do that. And we also like how it's cloud-based and how it has automatic updates every time that you open the client. So it's key to have less IT involvement, and all that stuff is kind of handled in the background.
That is music to many ears, I believe. Shannon, I know we're gonna be bringing you back in the second half of the conversation. We've covered a lot of ground already. Any quick observation with challenges, selection process? If you want to get a jab back at Greg for what he was talking about, the fun factor. Quick comment from you, Shannon.
Well, I enjoyed the succinct paragraph that he shared with us after the warning that he was going to be crisp today, but that's okay. No, working with Wirebelt has been no different than how we work with every customer. Everybody's got their challenges, and it all comes down to the same stuff. They want efficiency, they want it to be quick and easy, and they want it to be more than just a label printing piece of software. And I think that's where our approach, talking with Sean and the team, and really just asking some questions to make sure that we're delivering what they need. It's not about, hey, here's how our software works. Instead, it's like, hey, tell me how your process works so we can make sure that we integrate this software the right way for you.
Yes.
And I think that was really maybe the differentiator, and maybe that's what they felt, not only during the sales process, but during the implementation process.
Okay. Thank you for that, Shannon. I really appreciate that. And to a lot of our listeners out there, and we're about to talk implementation with Sean and Paul next, but there's lots of key takeaways for where you are in your journeys as you look to explore not just TMS technology, but other technologies. I think there's going to be lots of actionable insights here. So, Sean, let's talk about what is the least favorite part, maybe for a lot of folks out there, as they're implementing new platforms, new technologies. That's implementation. Give some thoughts there, Sean.
Yeah, so we had started, I think it was either the last week in April or early May. We're well into the testing phase now. I'd say we're only a couple weeks out before go live. So we're kind of around that 8 to 12 week time frame. But the team that Shannon's put together, they've been extremely helpful, extremely knowledgeable. I feel like every time that we throw them a curveball, they're able to get it resolved right away. And, we couldn't be happier with that. There are things that, with our customers that we deal with, a lot of if this, then that statements. So things they like to see out in shipping just to make the process a lot smoother and how we'd like it to work. They've been extremely helpful.
Okay. Sean, you throw a lot of curveballs?
No, I still can't. I still can't. Yeah.
Good. It's hard on your arm.
That's right. All right. Paul, I want to get your thoughts on implementation there. If you heard that from Sean and Greg, I'm gonna get your thoughts as well, implementation. But Paul, when you think of the word implementations, as I was sharing earlier, you get chills up your neck sometimes because there's lots of nightmare implementation stories out there. Paul, your thoughts?
Yeah. So working with a lot of SMB, small, medium manufacturers, it's important to make it 8 to 12 weeks because there's labor shortages. People only have so much time on their hands. So getting it done right quickly is great. And then the other thing that we're seeing going on is that ERPs can do a lot, but there's also best of breed software solutions out there that can be very powerful, like RateLinx, that you want to make sure that both the ERP and the solution, the best of breed solution, have a great API and great subject matter experts. So the integration piece of that implementation goes well, like it is going at Wirebelt.
Definitely sounds a lot different than a lot of those nightmare stories we hear about, Greg. And Greg, I want to get your thoughts here. You have implemented, I can't remember the last count, but thousands and thousands of technology implementations. What stands out here, or maybe what's one thing in general our audience should know and appreciate about implementing new technologies?
Well, I think in this case, what stands out is the communication between these two companies and how Sean and his team are effectively communicating what they need and how the implementation team is responding. That connection is critical because as automatic as we'd love these implementations to be, they never are. But if you can maintain that communication and each is responsive to the other, then you're going to win.
Absolutely. Well said there from someone that's been there and done it. Okay, quick sidebar. I see Helene and Matt have joined us. Welcome, everybody. Folks, get your comments and questions in. We're striving to get a couple questions from y'all about 12:50 p.m. Eastern time, so stay tuned. Okay, Shannon, I'm going to bring you back in here to get some of your perspective. So how did you work with Wirebelt to truly understand and decide the right data points? Not just all the data points, but the right data points to integrate with their ERP that would truly streamline and simplify their process?
Well, I wish I could take credit for actually working with them, but I would say it was my team who worked with Sean and their team, and also working with Paul and his team ahead of time. I think really set us up for success, and I think that's where having that great partnership between RateLinx and Synergy with those visual customers, kind of makes it not fair, I think, for us, because we already went into Wirebelt having probably 95% of everything known. And then the rest of it just came up as, we're doing the testing. My team is working with Sean and his team. They got the ShipLinx client installed, in a day, and they start walking through just the baseline test orders. And then from there, that's when Sean and their team starts throwing out, okay, what about this? Or, hey, I've got this other scenario, and, can you make it automatically do this or that? And, it's just from, walking through that, doing more of I would say more of like a conference room pilot in a way, kind of testing with them that allows us to make sure that not only are we pulling the right information and sending back the right info, but the process is nice and smooth and efficient for them. So I'd say that's probably what we were able to do that is different. And a lot of that's because, my whole team that works with our customers is right here. They're right outside my office. So I think that makes it very easy for us to do what we have to do. And you're talking to the experts. They're all right here.
Well, so Greg, and we're going to continue going with Shannon and Sean and Paul about a lot more, including overall time frames. But Greg, what did you hear Shannon talk about there in the earliest of days that's really important for folks to pull out?
Yeah, that discovery phase is critical. So walking in the door, knowing 95% of what you need to know is truly impressive, right? And as Shannon said, an unfair advantage. So I think that coordination between Synergy and RateLinx is really, really critical to the success that their clients are seeing, because when they do that kind of in-depth dive and they come in with a plan based on that, then it's just a matter of correcting any understandings that aren't clear or anything that wasn't expressed during that discovery phase. And those are usually minor tweaks, right? I mean, sometimes there's going to be a big change, but they're usually pretty minor tweaks at that point. And, that's a huge leverage point for success.
Well said. Agreed. Okay, Shannon, as we all know, some integrations can take 6 months or more. How long did it take to get the right data points integrated before Wirebelt started using their new TMS?
I mean, I don't think it's taken that long for them to start processing packages and shipments through there. I don't know, Sean, might have been a few days once we got everything installed on there and got the test environment. I mean, it's like you got to get the test environment on the visual side up and running. Once that was up and running, we connected to it, and it was shipping like almost same day. And then now it just came down to all these different rules. And I think, the good and the bad of RateLinx is we can do a lot. We can make it do what they want. And I think it takes the customer a little bit of time to get used to that. And then once they do, that's when we get all the requirements. And I feel like, in my experience, what I've learned throughout the years is, back with this software I used to implement before RateLinx, the challenge that we always had is we would get the software to about 80 to maybe 90% of what the customer needed, and we just couldn't take that final last step. And that's where, when I started RateLinx and put together ShipLinx, way back when, that was really the goal, is allow it to go to 100. And we're able to do that how we're architected with our little integration layer that we have, where it's not custom, but it sure looks like it. It's really extensible. And I think that's why we're able to get things up and running really quick. And then now, Sean and his team are essentially going through almost a year's worth of shipments through this little testing phase. So when we're done, we're probably done. And they're not going to have any more enhancement requests, and it's going to fit like a glove, and it's going to take its updates, and it's going to be, the one thing they don't have to worry about anymore.
Man.
The goal.
All right, Paul, I'm going to bring you in just a second, but Greg, that, as Shannon was describing that, we're talking about simplification in this highly VUCA environment, right? Very complex, uncertain. Man, wherever we can find simplicity that drives results, big results, huge win. Greg, speak to that really quick before I bring Paul in.
Yeah, well, anytime you deliver that kind of simplicity on the desktop, on the screen, there's a ton, I almost said another word in front of it, a big ton of technology behind it that enables that simplicity, because you have to be doing more behind the scenes to make it simple on the screens. Oh man, I'm a poet.
You're always poetic with your supply chain prose and prowess. How many pieces can I put in there? And Shannon Corrigan in the comments, I love this because Ron Popeil is one of our favorites of all time. She says it sounds like set it and forget it. Almost. Okay, Paul, let's go back to what Shannon was talking about with the integration and getting things going. And that is a lot different than what we hear about in the industry. Your thoughts there, Paul?
Yeah, it's just, being able to personalize something and not call it customs because the upgrades still work in the cloud is so valuable. And it's just, having the subject matter experts right outside Shannon's room and that team and the team at our customer, like Sean's team, be able to say, hey, here's what we need. Here's what's going to make our lives easier, more automated, so we can actually make more product and make their wire belts customers happier.
Yep.
That all comes down to the APIs being flexible and, the company having the subject matter experts that understand, well, if you want this, then you should consider this, and let's make it all a full solution for your company.
So Shannon, bringing you back and kind of picking up on some of the things that Paul mentioned there, talking about how all of this makes it easier to execute shipments and drive new efficiencies. Any other comments there, Shannon, before I go back to Sean?
No, again, it's just, listening to the customer. It's true collaboration is how we were able to deliver this. And again, my team outside my door is the one that should take credit for it, since I don't do that stuff anymore. It's
No?
Carlos and I think Carlos was on working with you guys, Sean, and he just did a fantastic job. And he's just you think I'm no fun, Greg? You should meet Carlos. He's even less fun than I am.
Carlos, we love you. If you're listening, if you're tuned in, if you're listening to replay, hey, we love you and having good fun. Hey, let me ask a quick question, Shannon, before I get back to Sean. Asking the right questions. I think you've mentioned that a couple of times. Really doing your homework on the front end, so that, to Greg's point and to what you said, you've got 95% of the puzzle, going in. Speak to the importance, whether it's TMS or any other technology, of truly asking the right and sometimes the tough questions on the front end.
Well, it's funny. We had another company in here yesterday, and we were talking with them, and one of the comments they made was, hey, we're not looking for a label generating piece of software. We want to really understand who we're partnering with, and we want a company that's going to talk to us and help us and try to understand what we're doing to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We're a 64-year-old company, and we know what we know, but what else is there? And I feel like that's really the benefit that we bring because of our scale in terms of customer size. We've seen a lot, until the next install.
Yep.
And we can bring out some enterprise level strategies and thoughts into the SMB world with an enterprise quality system, but still allow an SMB to afford it and leverage it. Because again, they're just, they're going to leverage pieces of it. And that's exactly what we're built for. And I think that's the whole key. And that's the collaboration and the real true partnership that we have with not only with customers like WireBelt, but also with our partners like Paul with Synergy, to make sure that we are something again that they just don't have to worry about. We're solid.
Holistic. Fits like I used your analogy a minute ago, like a hand in a glove.
It does.
And Greg, Shannon just shares that just matter of fact, because that's how it happens, Greg. Huh? We've seen it time and time again here, huh?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't think everybody, we talk about this lots of times when Shannon's on. I don't think everybody realizes just how long Shannon has been ahead of the market. Nigh on 20 years. And he continues to stay ahead of the market because, again, he knows the space is an incredible, if not fun, innovator. But I'll tell at the end of the show, I'll tell you when Shannon's fun. Okay, so everybody can hang on for that.
The gift that keeps on giving.
But that experience, the experience of, and you can see when you sit down with Shannon that he drinks in knowledge from every single implementation, every customer, every partner interaction, and just the development of theories and philosophies based on the experience that he's had. And that's what keeps that technology moving forward. That's the thing that I find so incredible, especially, when we talk about and we have talked about where that product was 20 years ago. It was ahead of the market now or 2 years ago then. So, I think a lot of what I see out of really great technology companies is they are waiting for technology to mature enough to enable the vision that they have for the solution. And that's really where you are when you talk about RateLinx, is they are way ahead of, and now fortunately technology is catching up, but usually way ahead of where the market is and of where technology can get you. So you're never going to run out of goodness.
That's good. We need the goodness of supply never to run out. No stock outs there. All right, so Sean, we've covered a lot of ground since we last heard from you. Anything that you want to add in terms of what Shannon and what we've been talking about in terms of after the integration, efficiency, savings, you name it. Your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, so I think once we are live with it, we're looking at saving probably about 1 to 2 hours a day just for processing shipments. And I think a lot of it will actually cut down on some of the errors that we've seen where, we have to copy and paste a pack list ID and then post it into another software. So sometimes it could be for another order and we just have no idea. So it will cut down a lot of the errors and, keeping our customers happy. So
love that. Less time, less errors. That's just the start of the equation. Okay. So folks, if you recall, we have really positioned this conversation around the title, 5 ways the right TMS and ERP integrations can streamline and simplify shipping. So we want to deliver, no pun intended, on that list of 5 things. So Sean, I can't help it, Greg. I just can't help it. How did shipping get easier? Let's talk about those 5 things, Sean.
Yeah, so I would say, not switching screens or having double data entry. That was my number one. All the modes in one place. We're not switching back and forth between doing a parcel or an international shipment. Less IT involvement. We love the automatic updates in the background once you refresh the client. And I'd say just the ability to fully integrate with visual is the 5 things that stand out to us. So
okay, Sean. All right, Greg, before I get Paul and Shannon to weigh in on that list of 5 things, what sticks out to you, Greg, out of those 5 ways that things get easier and more streamlined?
So you have to get past the operational and tactical things to get to the strategic ROI, right? Because the first thing you have to do is winning of hearts and minds is get people to use the damn thing. And that's what makes so much of this tactical aspect of it, and a lot of what Sean is describing, is so critical. Because if it doesn't work, or if it's hard to work with, as we talked about before, it's too many clicks, as Paul said, then people won't use it, and then you don't get the ROI, and the people sitting in the ivory tower are going, oh, why that didn't work.
I love it. All right. So Paul, bring you back in. to the conversation here. As you've mentioned, you've been working with top manufacturing companies for decades, over 1,200. And by the way, Paul, we're going to have to hang out. I think I've toured over 300 manufacturing sites. I love manufacturing. So I'd love to, we have to go out, get a road trip teed up. You down for that, Paul?
We have some fun sites to see. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll get it booked. So with all of that manufacturing experience of helping those companies get better and get more results, can you tell me why it's so important to what Sean, one of the things that Sean said, I think it was number 2, to have all modes in one place?
Yeah, I think what Sean hit on was you have the small parcel, the U.S. Postal Service, the FedEx, the UPS, all in one place, but also LTL, large freight. But then it gets down into how the ERP works. Like some of our customers can ship from inventory, right? They actually will create a work order, they'll put it in the stock, and they'll ship it from inventory, pick, pack, and ship. So there's that option. Some of them will ship right from the floor. Like I have to get this out quickly. I put a work order out specific to that customer, make to order, engineer to order, and they need to ship that. So, and then some have lot traceability needs, some have EDI needs where they have to do advanced shipping notifications. So to make sure that all works in one work surface, that, as Greg mentioned, that's all for, all usable by the end user is really important. So that's where we see one mode is doing all that from one screen, from one system. Yep.
Love it. Paul,
Yep.
Appreciate you expounding on that. Greg, anything you want to add to that? Since you mentioned you and your perspective.
I'm going to give Shannon the answer that he's wanted the whole show. No, I think it's good.
Awesome. All right. So, Shannon, I want to ask you a question about one of the things that Sean mentioned. We all know that not every integration is built alike. I'm sure there's some similarities, but also some very stark differences. Can you expand on what Sean mentioned when it comes to a fully integrated TMS? Why is that valuable?
It just eliminates errors. Back in the 90s, way back when I was implementing software, implementing manifesting systems, we had this screen scraping capability is how we would hook to the AS400 and all that. And the way that the sales guys used to sell it is they would say, every 9 keystrokes, a person makes an error. And it's like, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, probably not, since it came
sounded
from the
good though.
guys, but I mean, they would say it over and over again. So I believed it at a certain point. And that was how we sold the screen scraping. You're scanning an order, and then we use desk view, and it's flipped over to the protocol converters, emulation, and mapped the data in. And that's how they sold a lot of stuff because, unfortunately, we do make a lot of mistakes. And the more rushed you are, the more likely you're going to make a mistake. And so I've yet to see a very relaxed shipping area in a warehouse ever where, it's really not, that's usually not the place to relax and slow down. So that's why I think doing the complete integration and trying to take as much of that decision making out of the user's hands, that way the system just does it. It's going to not only eliminate those errors, it's going to build trust in the system. And I think it's going to allow the company to leverage that software for even more strategic decision making that they might want to do in the future, because now they know that it can do it. So I think that's what holds a lot of people back from making change is it's the change management with the user.
Yes.
So I think that's where that integration really is key to help drive all that.
Well said, Shannon and Greg. Greg, some of what Shannon shared there, but also what Sean and Paul have been touching on. One of the main themes here, I think, for this hour is something that we both tout all the time. Let the machines and technology do machines and technology things, and really liberate your people to where they can truly add more value and get out of so much of the blocking and tackling. Your thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think it's so they can add more value. It's really so they can see more value, because when they don't have to focus on just getting the process done right, when that's handled, as Shannon says, when you just turn it on and it works, then they can focus on other things because, and Sean, your team will start to experience this. As you get past those things that are the most frustrating, challenging, right in your face right now, you will get past those relatively quickly. And then you'll be going, oh my gosh, we never saw that before, or this before, right? That's where the value gets added. So it's not arbitrary. It's not like people have to go searching for it. It is right in their face once the process and the foundational problems are solved.
I love that. The epiphanies.
Excellent
Shannon,
word.
yeah, I've always loved that word. I've been able to pronounce it at least for the last couple of years. All right, so Sean, Paul, and Shannon, really appreciate this story here today. I want to do this. We got a couple of questions we want to pose to y'all, but I want to level set with just to make sure everyone understands with what RateLinx does. So Shannon, tell us in a nutshell. Tell us what RateLinx does.
Well, we help customers really not have to worry about their shipping anymore. Deliver exactly what they're looking for. Just make that shipping as easy as possible and give them one place to do everything.
Okay.
All modes.
Man, that is a powerful, succinct definition of what RateLinx does and jumps out of bed every day to do. Shannon and the whole team. Paul, we've got an extra minute. We're going to share some resources with everybody in just a second. But Paul, we got an extra minute. So Synergy Resources on the front end. We talked about some of the work y'all do and how many companies you help. What else? What would you add to that? What do y'all do in a nutshell?
Yeah, our mission is simply to help manufacturers and distributors reach their full potential. So we do that by helping them select the right ERP for their business, and then we implement the right processes to meet their goals. And then in the back end of that, once you're live, we have a continuous improvement wing and an innovation wing that helps implement and integrate best of breed solutions like RateLinx.
Yep. Outstanding. Now, Paul, quick aside. I'm going to throw you a curveball like Sean was talking about earlier. One of the last times you were with us, you were talking about this famous sandwich.
I was waiting for that.
Yes. And it stopped the audience in its tracks. And there was lots of comments. And I am starving. Can you remind me again what that famous sandwich was you shared last time?
No, it's from a restaurant called Tuckerman's up in Intervale near North Conway. And I forget the name of it right now, but it's basically a BLT with this chicken and this awesome bread around it and this great aioli sauce. But it's out of this world. Yeah. That
sounds delicious. Sean, does that ring a bell? Have you had one of these sandwiches yet?
No, I don't think I've ever been there before. I'm going to have to try it out.
Man, we're gonna Paul buy you one, Sean.
I probably should.
Right?
So we're gonna ski, Sean. It's right next to all the ski hills up here.
Yeah.
We're coming to visit your factory, and we'll go grab one of those sandwiches after the fact. All right. Kidding aside, let's talk about some resources. So, folks, up in the webinar platform, not only can you connect with this outstanding panel we've had, but we've got I think 3 or 4 resources there. One of them is this. Where you can learn more, the video around how you can learn more about RateLinx and its integrations. Simple, powerful, scalable. I love that. It reminds me of the Shannon, the $6 Million Man. Was that the series?
Yeah.
Back in the day? Was that the inspiration?
Better, stronger, faster. Yeah.
Oh, he was faster. What was it again? It was better, stronger, faster.
Is that right?
Yeah,
it was
something
better,
like
right?
that.
Yeah.
Well, folks, check that out. Check out that video.
What is it again, Scott? Say it again.
Simple, powerful, scalable.
It sounds like a commercial when you say it. That is awesome.
That is good. Again, yeah.
It's the mic. It's the mic, folks. Secondly, we've got a link to details. I'll bring this graphic up. We've got a link to details around how RateLinx partnered with a Fortune 100 company, saving them millions of dollars on an annual basis. Shannon, man, I think we've touched on that story before, but that is, man, I bet they were singing from the rafters.
They still are.
Yeah, I bet they are. And Greg, as they should be, right?
34x ROI in 1 year. Hell yes, they should be forever. Really. I mean, even if it stopped after that and they just stabilized after that, that would be incredible.
So, folks, check out the use case on that incredible story. And then also from Paul, you and your team, we've got an ebook that folks can probably just one click away from downloading, how to select cloud ERP for your company. Paul, that has got to be, that's a challenging selection process, especially with the plethora of resources out there. If you had to, I'm going to just pose this question, see if you want to add something here. If you had to pick one best practice when it comes to that selection process, is there one quick tip you can share with our audience?
to make sure you go into it with not just an RFP with 1,000 bullet points on it, but what's going to really change your business for the better. What's that strategic win you're going to get from that implementation? And then base the implementation off that.
Folks, check out the ebook. It's on the webinar platform. Connect with our speakers, Sean, Shannon, and Paul. Greg, would you elaborate for a second? We've got one question I'm going to pose to Shannon in just a minute. And great, thanks for all the great comments and questions. Y'all keep them coming. We are going to get all of that to our panel, so maybe y'all can grab a cup of coffee and one of those delicious sandwiches, maybe on a post-webinar basis. But Greg, one of your last comments here. When it comes to selection, when it comes to let me make it broader than that. Greg, when we think about the conversation and the results-driven story we've heard here from Sean, Shannon, and Paul, what is one or two things, your choice, that folks cannot, if they forget everything else, what do they have to keep front of mind?
Well, strangely, I'm going to go back to sort of related to the opening. So George Soros, great investor, said, investing is boring. If you find it entertaining or you're having fun, you're probably not doing very well. So good supply chain, good transportation management is boring. When everything is going smoothly, it's boring. It's not fun. And you would probably rather be spending your time on other things, which when it's boring, you can. So make your supply chain boring.
Yes. I love that, Greg. T-shirt-ism. We need to print them up and celebrate that. And by the way, Paul, Shannon says in the comments, I think Paul needs to order one of those sandwiches and bring it on the next webinar. I agree. So Paul,
man, they'll make you eat it if you do that, Paul. Be careful.
That is right. All right. So, Shannon, I want to pose this question to you as it comes from Amy here. I'm using the standard shipping solution in my ERP. What can you do in ShipLinx TMS that I can't do in my ERP shipping tool?
Ooh.
Shannon.
I'd say anything you want.
Really?
And I think that's the difference here. When you're using the standard stuff that's in those systems, there's certain things you just can't do. Certain services perhaps you can't take care of. There's definitely some little niceties, automation stuff you can't do. And that's where, again, that's the personalization and kind of that, fit it like a glove. I mean, you've got that one size fit all glove. When you go out and you get those gloves at like Home Depot or Lowe's because you're going to go do some work and you put them on and they're good enough, for the job. But man, if you were doing this all the time, you wouldn't get those. And I think that's where people will outgrow that standard system. And that's why we always talk about, let's make this thing really work for your business instead of you trying to work for it.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm going to add on to your answer. Work for your people, make their life easier, right? Sean, when we think about the whole industry, all the pressure and Shannon was talking earlier, I don't think the warehouse is the place where you to kick back and sit in a recliner. There's a lot of deadlines and priorities. So Sean, if you can, just a little quick blurb, how will the value of how this is going to make life easier on the people and the team at Wire Belt Company of America?
Yeah, I think, one of our points with our customers is we have a 99% on time, getting stuff out the door. So, and we stick to that. So we definitely don't want to have shipping software in place that's just going to slow us down because we need to get product out the door. And basically, if we're feeding America, then the belts need to go out the door. So, but yeah, I think it's just going to cut a lot of stress out there. We are extremely busy. Our machines are running all the time and, stuff is waiting to get boxed and shipped out. So, the team will be extremely happy once this is in place and that the stress levels will go down and the 4-letter words will
So you can have a bring your daughter to work day. Right now, you probably can't, can you?
Not right now, no.
Well, Sean, you said feed America. I know for a fact that my son Ben has eaten 17,232 of the pancakes that your machines have produced. So, all right, Paul, two-part question here as we start to wrap. If you would, Paul, speak to, especially with all the different manufacturers you're working with, and we were talking as what I was just talking about and Sean was talking about, the pressure and the stress on our workforce. Speak to the value of, again, whether it's TMS or other technologies, how important it is for business leaders to help their people enjoy and make their jobs more fulfilling and take some of that stress and anxiety off of them. Paul, speak to the importance of that.
Yeah, I think what you want to be able to do is work on strategic, processes and improvements, right? And if you're always firefighting the system or duplicate, keystrokes into two systems or not being efficient, you're not able to get to the strategic. So, if you want your company to grow, you got to focus on the strategic. So I think that's why it's so important, right? So,
love that.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I understand that y'all got a conference coming up in October, I think in Florida, and our team probably can find the link and drop that in the chat. What's one thing, any specs, and of course we can find the link, drop it in the chat. What's one thing you're looking forward to that event that maybe folks should check out?
Yeah, we have about 700 customers coming down. So 700 manufacturers. When you get 700 manufacturers together, it's a lot of fun. They like to let their hair down as well as anybody else. So it's a good time. And we get to hang out with our partners and our customers. It's really a fun time. So both you and Greg are very welcome to join us down in Orlando.
Okay. I'm venturing over to Delta now and book my tickets. Greg, you ready to go?
I'm driving.
Okay.
Ride with me.
Okay, all right with you. We'll be down there in like 2 hours, I promise you. All right. So, hey, really quick before we wrap, Alex and John are throwing in their favorite sandwiches. We got John from Maine talking about the coffee spot in Bangor, where it's got the best sandwich in the whole state. And then Alex from Philly is bragging on Mama's Pizzeria and cheesesteaks. So we'll have to check that out, man, making us hungry. All right. So, Greg, final word, but we're going to make sure folks know how to connect. Well, it's easy. It's one click away from connecting with this panel here, Paul, Shannon, and Sean. Check that out in the webinar platform. Be sure to check out those resources we dropped. Knowledge is certainly power. And the onus is on all of us now to do something based on the great information and expertise we've been presented with. Greg, your final word before I thank our guests and we wrap up today's show.
So first of all, find someone who feels the way George Soros does about your supply chain, right? Mm-hmm. They want it to be boring for you. And when they have the kind of quiet confidence that Shannon Vaillancourt has and Paul have, recognize or even challenge him. Believe me, I would love to see you challenge Shannon. Because you'll find out just the depth of knowledge and expertise that they have, because just like your people, the people that provide you with your technology, help you implement your technology and train your people on the new technology, they're critical, and they are what makes the difference. Because I have seen superior technologies fail to be implemented because the team that was implementing wasn't strong enough, or the team that was supporting it or developing it wasn't strong enough. So I think it's important to recognize when you're in the presence of greatness like you are here today, that you should challenge the people, not just the technology, whenever you're evaluating it. And if you want to know when Shannon Vaillancourt is fun, talk to him about technology and how it's been developed over time and where his head is going with it. And you will realize, as I have, how far ahead of the market he is. Or talk to him about his sons, who he loves and who are both great golfers, or any fast car on the planet.
Yep.
Oh, we got Shannon nailed right away. I love that. And by the way, going back to Paul, we've got Michelle in the comments. She dropped the Visual Focus 2023, the link to that event where Paul was talking about 700 different manufacturers. Man, what a great, outstanding session that's going to be. So, Michelle, thanks for doing that. And speaking of thanks and being grateful, beyond, of course, our audience, the smartest, savviest audience around across the globe. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Sean McGee, as busy as y'all are, thanks so much for taking an hour out and being with us here and walking us through some of y'all's journey. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And Sean, do you happen to have a relative named Bobby?
I do not know.
Okay, just had to ask. Had to ask. Famous song, famous tune. All right, but Sean, kidding aside, really appreciate you joining us. Paul Tedford, CEO with Synergy Resources. Y'all check out the conference and the resources in the link. Paul, thanks again for carving some time out with us.
Thank you.
You bet. And of course, Shannon Vaillancourt, who I think we've proven. Y'all take heed to what Greg, those 3 or 4 points that Greg just shared. We have been fortunate to collaborate and rub elbows with Shannon going back a few years. And Shannon, I don't, you do bring a lot of fun to the table, especially when it talks about driving more success with the companies you work with. Are we right?
I'd like to think so.
And fast.
Yeah.
But really appreciate what you've shared here today and what you do out in the industry. Shannon Vaillancourt, president and founder with RateLinx. Hey, Greg White, thanks for joining me here today.
My pleasure. It was actually fun.
I agree. And I know what I was going to say, Sean, Shannon, and Paul. Greg put high praise on the 3 of y'all. He never says this. He told us that we were in the presence of greatness just a couple minutes ago. So, hey, high praise. If you hear it from Greg, you know it means something. So great to have all 3 of y'all here today. Yep. To our audience, again, thanks for being here. Thanks for the comments and questions. No, we couldn't get to everything, but we'll be sending those along to Shannon and Sean and Paul. And hey, the onus is on us now, deeds not words, to do something with this knowledge that our panel has dropped on us here today. So with that said, and by the way, big thanks to Catherine and Amanda and Shannon and Tracy, all the folks behind the scenes helping to make production happen. But with all of that said, on behalf of our entire team, Scott Luton challenging you to do good, to give forward, and to be the change. And we'll see you next time right back here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.